Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of Outlaw Eco Build, how to build your own earthbag house. If you've already seen episodes 1 to 3, you've already seen us level the foundations. We've built the gravel trenches, we've put in the drainage, and we did 2 courses of gravel filled bags to comprise our stem wall. Then in episode 3 last time we inserted these, as you can see here, the box forms for our full length doors. And in today's episode we're going to go through all the things you need to start laying your earth bags, the barbed wire, all those details, and show you how you can turn this into your beautiful earth bag home. So first up, you're going to need some large nails, a tamper, we're going to show you how to make that in a separate video, 1 hammer, some double points, barbed wire, this is a 100-meter roll, you're going to need a few of those depending on your build, and some polyurethane bags. We already showed you in episode 3 how to make, or how we made the bag filler here. You could do this with a single tube, 1 bag at a time. The books will tell you to do this in place on top of the wall. But for us, we found this an easier option to fill the bag 6 at a time and then to lift them up onto the wall, which of course got a little bit more difficult as the wall got higher, but we used some scaffolding. So once you've got the bags on there and the bag filler turned over, or whichever method you choose to fill your bags, you basically just need something to hold the bags open that's easily removed after you've filled them with earth. So here's Nick filling the bags with our earth. I talked a little bit in episode 3 about the composition of the earth that you're going to need for your earth bag house. Here we were quite fortunate that we had really the perfect ratio of clay to silt to sand. We just had to remove some big rocks. But you're really going to need to do your own research and your own tests to figure out which soil or earth you have at your site, which is best for you. It can be amended in various ways. If you have some questions about this, you can leave it in the comments. Maybe I also do an episode to discuss the tests that you can do and the ways in which you can amend the soil if it's not correct. So once you've got those bags filled with, if you're using our 6-stack bag filler, you need to just lift that off, as you can see Nick doing here. This is normally a 2-man job, but I was filming, so you can see here it can be done quite easily by 1 person. You're going to lift the bag filler off there, and what you'll be left with is 6 ready to go filled bags. Do be careful with the bags in this process that you're not tearing them or ripping them on anything sharp, any rocks. Also, when you're moving them, be careful not to drag them on the ground. You really need those bags intact because that's what's holding all that earth together. So once you've got your bags filled, before you're ready to lay them on the wall, I want to go over the technique for folding the bags. Now, the books, again, are going to tell you that these bags need to be diddled and folded and hard-assed and all these fancy things. But we made sure that we bought bags, as you can see at the bottom here, which already have the corners tucked in at the bottom, at the seam. And at the top, we use this technique where you take the outside layer, tuck it all the way in like this, forming like a little envelope shape, and then take the top layer there and fold it all the way over. So you create, again, corners here and here, so when it's tampered it stays square, and there's still a good amount of bag folded under, that when you flip that bag down onto the wall, that end is tucked right in and all the way under the bag, as you can see here. So then you can level it out, give it a little shuffle, and when that bag's tampered, you've got 4 square corners. This is important when it comes to rendering, that you don't have those flappy corners hanging out. That's going to become a problem. Next up, you're going to go over to your earthbag wall. If you're at stages 1 or stage 1 through 3 after the last 3 videos, you're going to be laying this on top of your gravel bags like here. So you want to lay 1 continuous ring of barbed wire that needs to go all the way up to the door frame, as you can see here, back around, and needs to link with the other end. It needs to be 1 continuous piece of barbed wire for each section of the wall. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to explain this to you. 2 layers of barbed wire or 1 continuous ring all the way around. We found the easiest way to do that, as you can see here with Nick, is to unroll it as you go and then step on it to press it into the bags, that it sticks to the bags all the way around. Because here you can see that continuous ring, and here we're laying the bags alternately. So if in one case it's horizontal, in the next case it needs to be vertical. Here you can see you got 1 bag going vertically and the next one going the opposite way. It's the same at the corners. One bag was going there vertically. So you need to lay that next bag over the top of it horizontally, that you always keep this running bond. There needs to always be a bag laid over the join of the bag before. That might mean that there's a gap, like you can see there. You need to make sure you put a small bag in that gap. You can always make it up with a smaller bag. Once you've laid a continuous ring of barbed wire and one full course of bags, then it's time to tamper. We made this tamper ourselves. This is our mini tamper. It's much lighter, so you have to hit it a few more times. But this was much easier for me as I'm not strong. You can see Nick's got a big heavy one there. You don't have to hit the bags as many times with this one, but it's much heavier to lift, so you need to figure out what works for you. Here you can see Nick tampering the walls on our house on the main build, which we made last year. He can do he can tamper a course of bags super quickly with this big tamper, but like I said, it's much heavier. For me, this is much harder work. You need to make sure that all those bags are super well tampered, that in the end you have a really solid mass inside those bags. One other thing, after you've laid a course against those door frames, you're going to need to put in these, we call these wall anchors. So this is a piece of wood that's sandwiched in there between each bag with the barbed wire, right up against the door frame there. So as you can see, once that door frame is removed, you're going to have a little piece of wood there sandwiched in between the bags. As you can see here, Nick's going to put that bag down. We put some nails in there as well, some extra Velcro. And that's going to go right up against the door frame, and that's going to allow you to attach your door frames afterwards to the walls. Here you can see a box form. This is one of the box forms that we made for a small window in the bedroom. We bricked this up there loosely. There's no cement in there, with just bricks, just to hold the shape and the form of the window that we want in the wall. And here you can see Nick installing the beam over the top, a kind of lintel over the top of the window. In there, we're inserting a bunch of these nails, which are going to not only grip the barbed wire to the top of that to ensure the next layer of bags are going to stick, but he's also nailing that down into the bags underneath it. So this is really well stuck in there, both to the bags underneath, and now as you can see, we're going to insert those nails into the top of this so that the bags over the top are also really well stuck. This is the structure that's going to hold the space underneath open for your window. Here you can see Nick nailing the barbed wire in. He's putting one nail next to the barbed wire, and then he's putting it across to fix it down. Again, just so that next layer of bags are going to stick really nicely to this. Your barbed wire is basically a mortar. They call it the Velcro mortar. This is really what's sticking all those bags together, stopping them sliding off or moving at all, but also what adds the tensile strength. So like we talked about in the first video, it's not completely rigid. When you have an earthquake, it still allows the building to move and flex a little bit, but holds it all together. Once you've got any box frames for windows installed, you're going to continue laying bags alternately with a layer of barbed wire, a course of bags, tamper, a layer of barbed wire, a course of bags, and tamper, until you come to the next point where you're going to want to install any more windows. Now in our case, we used both ways of doing this, both those loose bricks to hold open the space, and here you can see we used some of these concrete rings. These are what the municipal water companies use to lay water pipes in the roads, but we've took two of those, cut them in half, and as you can see here, with some degree of difficulty, lifted those up onto the walls. And we're not going to use these only as a form to leave the space in the wall. We're actually going to leave those in there as the window frames. We're later going to install glass inside, and we're going to now build up the earth bags around those rings, so they're going to stay there in place. As you can see here, we're leveling them and making sure they're even. So that's episode 4 of how to build your own earth bag house. We've covered the earth bags, the box forms, the tampering and the barbed wire, and how to intersect those bags at the corners. But there are a couple more things you need to know before you continue. One of those was the strip anchors. So wherever you're going to want to attach something to the wall, and this is where it takes a little bit of planning, you're going to need to insert one of those strip anchors. Here's the one that we showed you in the video earlier, that it will eventually be to connect, to screw the door frame to. These need to be not only the piece that you want the front of the wall available to screw into, but it needs to extend also a little bit into the wall and be fixed with the nails. So for example, if you wanted a shelf in this wall now, next to the window here, you would need to put a piece of wood in there that's extending into the back, at least halfway into the wall, that's fixed into the wall at the bottom and that has some nails sticking up at the top. The next bag will grip into it and leave just a piece of wood exposed here. So for example, you may want to hang a picture, maybe it's a shelf, but most importantly for your cables. So we've left a little hard tube here that's just big enough for electrical conduit to come in. This will be the entry point for the electrics in this room, and we can run those cables all the way along these little gaps in the bags before we render over it. But we're going to need to insert in there some small pieces of wood, some small strip anchors in the spots. For example, here maybe you want to fix an electrical socket to the wall, so you can run your cable all the way along here to here, but then you're going to need a piece of wood there to fix your actual socket to. Equally, you're going to need to put something in there, in our case it'll be right next to the door here, for a light switch to be attached to. So bear that in mind, continuing anything that you want to be able to fix to the wall in this top section of the wall, you need to put in a strip anchor now. And of course, just a couple of courses over the top of the door frames, which is in effect going to connect the two walls. Right now, our back wall and our front wall here are not actually connected. We have a tall sliding door on each side. So it will be that layer of bags over the top there that actually connects the two walls together. So there'll be lintels in there, and then on top of that, earth bags. The same like we did here with the small window. There needs to always be a lintel that extends the full depth of the wall, and at least, I don't know, 30 centimeters over each side to secure that opening. Additionally, of course, the roof beams will connect the both walls together, but that's another episode. So until next week, happy earth bag house building. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you have any more questions or anything that you need to know or that I didn't make clear, please leave it in the comment section below. Have a good week, guys. Oh.